So there is a news story out in Politico that discusses how Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has basically changed her strategy since winning her seat. And this is in direct contrast to the Bernie Sanders strategy of calling out the Democratic leadership, and also in terms of endorsements and who they endorse in terms of primary challengers as well. So let me first show you the article here. And look, I'm going to pull some quotes from here. I'm also going to discuss what I think about this and if I think this is a good strategy. You may be able to tell already where I sit on that, but we'll get to my analysis in a minute. Also, there are a couple people here in this article that back what AOC is doing, and who those people are really tell you a lot in terms of how you should feel about this, I think. But we'll get to that. First, the headline here, AOC breaks with Bernie on how to lead the left. The Congresswoman is declining to back primary challengers following in her footsteps and working within the system in Congress. So first, I'm going to read a quote here that kind of sets the stage for this. So of the half dozen incumbent primary challengers Justice Democrats is backing this cycle, Ocasio-Cortez has endorsed just two. Neither was a particularly risky move. Both candidates, Jessica Cisneros in Texas and Marie Newman in Illinois, were taking on conservative Democrats who oppose a woman's right to choose and later earned the support of several prominent national Democrats. So this is the first sign that there has been a shift in strategy here. Because one of these people, as it first highlights at the start here, is Cori Bush. So Cori Bush is in Missouri, challenging Lacey Clay there. Challenged Lacey Clay back in 2018. They were both Justice Democrats. AOC had endorsed Cori Bush back then, again before when AOC won her seat. And now this time, when Cori Bush is going after Lacey Clay again, no endorsement from AOC. And this is when the endorsement really matters, because AOC has power. Now, they go on to say, well, this election's like 4 months away, so, not going to say anything yet about it. But then they go on to say, well, AOC backed, I believe it was Marie Newman, either Marie Newman or Jessica Cisneros 4 to 6 months before their races. So AOC came out early for those candidates, is not coming out early for Cori Bush if she's going to back Cori Bush at all, which at this point doesn't seem likely. So this is, before I get into this further and pull more quotes here, at this point, it's indefensible. I mean, from her end, it's definitely indefensible. Because AOC knows that she would be supporting Cori Bush, at the very least, apart from the other candidates as well, but at least Cori Bush, if it wasn't for the fact that she's in Congress. So right here, she is choosing to, while she's still discussing policies like a Green New Deal and Medicare for All, it's fine to discuss those policies, but if you're not willing to actually challenge power, the power within the party, then nothing's going to change. You're not going to get a Green New Deal. You're not going to get Medicare for All. So talk all you want about these big ideas, but if you don't have the numbers, if you don't have the people with you, working with you in Congress, how is any of this going to get passed? It's not. What AOC appears to be doing is sort of on the same trajectory that Elizabeth Warren is now way into. And that's basically backing Democrats no matter what, not willing to actually challenge anybody in power, but willing to say sometimes the right things to the camera in order to continue support for themselves. But that support only goes so far if you're not willing to actually take on the power within the party. So let me read. Actually, before I even read the next quote, just to remind people here, AOC defeated a powerful Democratic incumbent, part of the Democratic leadership, Joe Crowley. She primaried Joe Crowley. That's how she was able to eventually win her seat. So for her to, I was going to say for her to not understand the power of her endorsement here. Of course she understands it. But she must recognize that she challenged somebody in power, in Democratic leadership, and won her seat. And now she's not willing to back any primary challenge from progressive Democrats that are challenging conservative Democrats in power, like a Joe Crowley. Now, again, she did in the case of Marie Newman and Jessica Cisneros, but as you saw, those are easy people, easy races to step into. There are other ones that are very similar, maybe not as drastic as those were, but very similar in terms of their stature within the party, and she is not yet backing the primary challengers in those other races. Now, let me, again, before I go on though, I also want to remind you that nobody backed her. So this, just playing devil's advocate for a second, when it came to her race against Joe Crowley, no one, I'm almost positive, nobody in the Democratic Party, with the exception of Ro Khanna, who had a dual endorsement. He endorsed both Joe Crowley and AOC at the time. Apart from him, AOC had no actual endorsement from a sitting member of Congress before she defeated Joe Crowley. So, like, she may make the argument, well, I got in here without having any of these big endorsements. So if it can be done, then you'll get it done. And you don't really need my endorsement as AOC. But at the same time, she knows the power of her endorsement and how much it would help people, help these primary challengers. Okay, another quote here I want to get to. Because this gets into exactly who is in support of what she's doing here. So, and this is what worries me. This is what makes it really clear to me that what AOC is doing is not the right way to go about this. But quoting Politico here, quote, "The Democratic Party is the party of coalitions, not a cult," said James Carville, a top strategist for Bill Clinton's 1992 campaign and vocal critic of Sanders during the primary. Quote, "I've observed her. I think she's really talented and she's really smart. Maybe she is, I don't speak for her, coming to the conclusion that she wants to be part of the coalition." In addition to that, Neera Tanden, president of the liberal think tank Center for American Progress and a longtime Hillary Clinton aide, called Ocasio-Cortez's shift a sign of leadership. "There are some people on the left who thought that their views represented a strong majority, and the primary process has shown that voters diverged, that Sanders is winning a minority and a smaller minority than he had 4 years ago," Tanden said. Look at this. Look at quotes like this. This is who is supporting AOC right now. Neera Tanden and James Carville. When James Carville and Neera Tanden are on your side in terms of the kind of strategy you are using as a progressive in the Democratic Party, it means you're not using the right strategy. These people should hate you. These are your enemies. These people do not want to see anything you're fighting for passed. So when you have their support, that means they know using your strategy, that you using this new strategy of not challenging power in the Democratic Party, they know that you won't be able to get your agenda passed because these people have their jobs because they support this corporate first agenda. Neera Tanden has her job because she supports a corporate first agenda. So the only reason she supports AOC in doing this is because this allows Neera Tanden to continue collecting a check for what she does. So I have one more quote here, but this is, how's this going to work? Like, I did a great video, or not, I did a great video. AOC had a great, there's a great clip of her in the House that I covered last week, where she was fighting against this essentially corporate giveaway in this relief bill. And that's good. It's good to fight like that. She'll continue, I'm sure, to fight like that. But if you're not actually taking the steps in terms of challenging power to change anything, then you can yell on the floor of the House all you want. But ultimately, it doesn't mean anything because you aren't using the power that you have to actually challenge the people that are pushing that corporate first agenda through. One more quote here, or a couple quotes here. And that's in terms of who she's hiring. So this is another aspect of this entire thing that worries me. So from Politico here, the hiring of Hitt. So this is her AOC's new communications director, Lauren Hitt. So the hiring of Hitt as Trent's replacement, Corbin Trent, speaks to Ocasio-Cortez's new approach. An experienced operative, Hitt has worked for more moderate Democrats like Governor John Hickenlooper and Representative Beto O'Rourke during the recent presidential bids, as well as the left-wing candidates such as former New York gubernatorial contender Cynthia Nixon. So the addition of Cynthia Nixon here makes me feel a little better that Hitt worked for Cynthia Nixon, but this person's more recent jobs, Hitt's more recent positions were working for John Hickenlooper and Beto O'Rourke. Two horrible campaigns, incredibly moderate conservative campaigns, and they lost terribly. Why would that be someone you want to hire? Unless you're taking a very different approach. So, again, a job like this or a hiring move like this makes me worry that AOC is not in the position now to actually fight for anything meaningful because she isn't willing to actually challenge the power. One more quote here. So Shoikat Chakrabarty was a firebrand on the Hill. This is someone else who was lost from AOC's team. Chakrabarty was a firebrand on the Hill. After Ocasio-Cortez's victory in November 2018, he earned enemies in the Democratic caucus by declaring, quote, "We got a primary, folks." They were livid in June when he called some members, quote, "new Southern Democrats." Ocasio-Cortez replaced him with Legislative Director Ariel Ekblad, who joined her office in January 2019 after working for Senator Kamala Harris. So two major hires here. One worked for Hickenlooper and Beto O'Rourke. The other one worked for Kamala Harris. And in the process replaced two incredibly powerful left-wing voices in Corbin Trent and Shoikat Chakrabarty. So I just don't know how you expect to actually get anything through if you're not challenging power. So, like, I understand the criticism that this article tries to make and that some people try to make is that Bernie Sanders divided the party by going after Democratic leadership. But the reality is he didn't divide the party. He divided members of Congress. But the people as a whole, voters, understand that the Democratic Party as a whole, when you look at polling on this, voters as a whole understand that politics in Washington represent corporate interests. They understand this. So Sanders was simply taking on the power in the Democratic Party, Democratic leadership, not taking on Democratic voters, taking on Democratic leadership to actually fight for people. So with AOC taking this new approach, I just don't know how this is supposed to work. Again, it may work for her in terms of rhetoric. You can say the right things and continue having support that way. And I'm sure she fights for issues in her district. Great. But if you actually want to change things and enact big ideas like a Green New Deal, like Medicare for all, like free public college, you're not going to do that unless you are challenging power within your own party, which she is not doing. I want to share this tweet here because Cenk Uygur, early big backer of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, of course, one of the co-founders of Justice Democrats, which was part of AOC, of course, and allowed her to win. Again, if it wasn't for Cenk Uygur, TYT, and Justice Democrats, I don't think AOC would have won her race. Yes, AOC worked her butt off in that race. The volunteers on her campaign were incredible, of course. But there would never have been any start to it, especially when it comes to small dollar fundraising, if it wasn't for TYT, Justice Democrats, and Cenk Uygur being on her side. So his opinion here, it's not fake news. AOC has not endorsed most progressive challengers. If we're being honest, her political calculations now would lead her to not endorse someone exactly like herself. That bridge was awfully nice while you were crossing it. Apparently not so much anymore. Yeah. And I mean, one of those people that look, you could say maybe Cenk's a little bitter here because he did not get the endorsement of AOC when he was running, even though he backed AOC, of course, when she was running. So you could say, okay, maybe he's a little biased here, but at the same time, he's exactly right. AOC needed the support of people when it came to winning her race against Joe Crowley, a powerful Democratic leader. But now she pulls the ladder up and doesn't support the people that are, again, challenging power within the Democratic Party. But at the same time, as I was saying earlier, you could make the argument, well, when it came to elected Democrats, people in Congress, nobody endorsed her in her race against Joe Crowley except for Ro Khanna's dual endorsement, which is not really an endorsement. You might as well endorse nobody. So, and she still won. So you can make the argument that if you work hard enough, if you have the backing of groups like TYT or like Justice Democrats, then you can win your race anyways, regardless of those endorsements or in lieu of those endorsements. But those endorsements, especially from a voice like AOC, would definitely help a primary challenger against a Democratic incumbent. But I don't know. I would love to hear what people think about this. Think about all of this. Post below the video with your thoughts on AOC's new strategy and if you think this is the way forward and how to get progressive policy through.